The most beautiful girl in Hackney, you know.
Anyways, main topic. Okay, so this, goddamn, we've been trying. It's been almost a fucking week, and we've been trying to talk about this album all goddamn week, and it's Jamie XX in color. It is, one of the most hyped up albums right now, if not one of the most, if not the most hyped up album right now. It's okay. It's Jamie XX, English, electronic producer. Has been around for a couple of years. He's in the XX. He did a project with Gil Scott-Heron. Has released a number of EPs and singles. Some other collaborations. And he's finally released his debut album. It's called In Color. And so, what do we think? How do we want to discuss this? Do we want to go by track, or do we want to just discuss it in general?
Dude, I'd be actually cool with going track by track.
Sounds good. I can't do track by track because I feel like it kind of just ends up being like this.
It's gonna take a while, I guess.
And I feel like it does stand as a whole product. It doesn't feel like very segmented.
Also, some of the tracks are forgettable, and I can't piece together which track names are just two different songs, even though I've listened to some a number of times.
That's the other thing. I just went to look at the track list, look at the album, and I was like, wait, what's that song again? I forget it, but okay, I mean, some of them are standouts and some of them aren't really, but I mean, whoever wants to talk about this album first, or I could go first if that's okay.
I say you go first.
Go first since you probably like this album the most of all of us.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I like this album the most out of all of us because I don't know, I liked We're New Here a lot. I think that We're New Here has a lot more depth if you've listened to Gil Scott-Heron before. Okay, so this album came out. I listened to this album last year for the first time, and I listened to Gil Scott-Heron a longer time before that. It was weird. Gil Scott-Heron was my first artist where I listened to it, and I was like, whoa, this is I'm getting into music. This is it. I'm confirmed patrician now. Gil Scott-Heron, I'm a god. And then I listened to the XX, and obviously since I listened to Gil Scott-Heron, I'm a patrician, so I shat on the XX because they suck. But no, I'm kidding. XX are cool. But anyways, when I heard that Jamie XX, I mean, I'm New Here was the Gil Scott-Heron album that I listened to, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And then Jamie XX of the XX announced that collaboration, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. It sounds like it will be cool because I know I'm New Here. I like some of the songs on I'm New Here, and it'll be cool to see how Jamie XX interprets them and makes them different. And I thought this album was pretty hit or miss on some of them. I feel like it was a cool concept, but Jamie XX's style didn't really mesh that well with Gil Scott-Heron's style on a few of the tracks.
I disagree slightly.
Okay, I disagree slightly with myself too, because a lot of them are good. Some of them work really well and are really cool. And but some of them I don't like as much.
Okay,
And we're back talking about We're New Here, the collaborative remix album by Jamie XX and Gil Scott-Heron, saying that I thought that some of the tracks on the album, I don't think that Jamie XX's style meshed super well with Gil Scott-Heron's style, but on some of them it was pretty good. But then again, on some of them it wasn't my favorite. That's what I had to say.
Okay, so
But
do you want to go back to In Color?
This discussion is about In Color. So I was pretty hyped up for In Color, and just Jamie XX's solo work going into this. He released a single called All Under One Roof Raving, which is really cool. It's a nice song, and it kind of gave us a peek into what Jamie XX's style would be for the next album, for his first album, because the whole kind of the shtick was that there's a lot of samples that are about and there's vocal samples about UK garage and post dubstep and stuff like that, which are cool genres, and there's lots of cool interviews and videos from DJ sets that I think a lot of these samples come from. But anyways, I thought In Color was really nice, and I think that he really expanded on his style and ways that I wasn't expecting, a lot of cool steel drum stuff on the track Obs, and really cool features all around, all over the album, Romy on a few tracks, and the Young Thug feature, the infamous Young Thug feature, which
I'm a ride in that pussy like a stroller. God
we
damn,
all
that
know about
fucking
that
when
line.
when that song, okay, when it came, no, when In Color leaked, that fucking song and that goddamn line all week from Jeremiah and Sarah and
And me.
sometimes Arthi.
And me.
You didn't send me Snapchats of it, and I sent them a
Okay,
bunch of
yeah.
Snapchats making fun of them. I had one where I zoomed in on a dog, on my uncle's dog, because I was dog sitting, and it was funny because he was looking at my knee. Okay, anyways, keep going.
All right. Well, anyways, I think that the features were all really nice, and I mean, you don't want to overload your album with features because you want to be able to show your individual skill pretty well, which he did. I think that a few of the standout tracks for me were definitely tracks that didn't have a feature, like The Rest Is Noise, Sleep Sound, Gosh, all tracks that I think are probably some of the best on this album. Gosh is really cool. I'm a sucker for tracks that are like centered around like a vocal sample. If that makes if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Close Your Eyes by Run the Jewels. I'm trying to think of some other examples, but I can't.
Most of Redacted on the Moon.
What is it?
Redacted on the Moon.
Yeah, I haven't heard that, but I'm sure I'd like it because I like albums that are. I like songs that
You know,
are like that.
Nick, do you not get the joke?
No, I don't get the joke.
We're talking about the Death Grips album, Powers That Be Part 1, Redacted on the Moon.
Oh, Redacted on the Moon. Oh, duh. Yeah.
See, Nick hasn't been on the podcast for a while.
I haven't been on the
He doesn't-
podcast.
So he doesn't get that running joke that we have about.
I don't think I've been on the podcast this year.
No, you have
So-
not.
No,
No, you've probably been on
You
this
have.
year.
No, I have,
I've only
actually.
been on this year, and I've been on a podcast with you.
Okay, I was on the podcast in like March. March was probably the last time I was on it because I was super busy. I was so busy, it was ridiculous. But anyways, that's not about In Color. Anyways,
15 years old, so busy.
Okay, dude, chill. I was pretty busy. I don't know what age has to do with being busy, but I mean,
Okay.
you're seniors, so you're actually. I mean, besides like maybe 2 weeks, that you're really busy. You basically have everything else pretty free. Am I right?
I mean, the thing is, I didn't even have finals, so I wasn't even busy towards like the end. The only days I was busy was like I had like vacation or something. Not vacation, like a school trip.
Yeah, whatever. I was pretty busy. I mean, I wasn't ridiculously busy, but I was too busy to really get into the podcast, man. Like, I just had to take a breather. I was one of the founding members. Just you youngins, sit down.
I know. See, this is the salty Nick that I love and hate at the same time, because he's always salty to me on the podcast, always salty.
You don't know my life.
I think I kind of asked for it though. I'm just fucking with you. Keep going. Just
All right,
Josh. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, this album's good. It's a very strong debut album from the guy from the XX. I appreciate it. It's an 8.5 out of 10.
Can we? I want that to be the tagline for the album. It's a pretty good album from the guy from the XX.
Okay. I want to talk next because I disagree with a lot of things about Nick. Now,
not about.
I disagree with a lot of things. I want to
No, I
do
like how you
counterpoint.
said that though about Nick, not
Yeah,
about
like-
Nick's
I
opinion.
disagree.
Are you
Of the album.
talking about the album or me?
Yes, I'm talking about the album.
right.
Okay, don't
I mean-
again. Just because he sullied me, Ethan, don't twist it. Okay, I'm talking about the album
You
here.
said I disagree with many things about Nick.
That is what you
I'm
said.
not twisting
I-
your words.
Oh, I'm sorry that I sorry that I worded that incorrectly. I'm sorry. I don't have a script. Again, this is an unscripted podcast. This is unfiltered.
I write a
Pretty sure
script.
that's how most
Real.
podcasts are.
Okay. Anyways,
I write
In
a script for
Color.
myself.
Hashtag no filter.
I don't write scripts. I talk from the brain, man, because okay. Anyways,
I talk from my
In Color.
knees.
In Color, it's just okay. To me, it's nothing to write home about. It is.
Damn, I was writing a
It's-
letter home about it.
Shut up, Ethan. I swear to God,
Yeah,
I
dude.
stole that
I
joke
can't
from.
kick you out the podcast because
the
we're
birthday
so
boys.
reliant on you. But anyways, it's just okay. I just didn't really care for it. I just don't understand the love this album's getting. It's not like generic electronic music where it's like 120 beats per minute. It's like.
Wait, do you ever listen to like any other like electronic?
No, I do. No, here,
Okay.
let me get to that point.
Have you listened to Burial, dude?
Yes, I have listened to Braille. Okay, here's the thing. I like my electronic music. Electronic music when it's a bit more experimental. So think like Arca, Death Grips, Bjork.
Okay, but wait,
Um,
like the thing is, the call's cutting out again.
No, it isn't.
Fine.
Maddie,
Okay.
Matt, I couldn't hear Maddie for like 30 seconds.
He wasn't talking.
Can I just? He
I
was.
was talking.
Oh, you were. Oh.
Yeah, I was talking. Okay,
Yes.
I was trying to say that like I prefer more like experimental
Oh,
electronic
yeah,
music,
I
and
heard you say that. I heard you say that.
because this is just like it's not generic like house music or anything like that, but it's just like it's boring. I don't
Okay,
want to
well,
say
I
it's
think
boring
that-
because like it's enjoyable to listen to, but I don't really get that much out of it.
All right. Well, I think that Jamie XX, and I didn't really address this when I was talking about it earlier, but he really wears a lot of his influences on his sleeve with
I was
like
gonna say that.
basic, but
Yep.
and that can be a good thing or a bad thing, and it depends on if it's like not a complete copy, but like really like strikingly similar, and it's not really because Jamie XX still has this really distinct style with like really light, kind of like I don't know like synth run beats, and that's how a lot of the stuff on We're New Here was, and that's how his singles from before were. So I mean, he has his own style, but it's still like really, it's definitely influenced by a lot of other people. Like so, I think that I mean, calling it like boring, I guess it's really heavily influenced.
I'm not
by
sure. Okay,
all
hold
this.
on. I'm not sure to describe it as boring. I would describe it as just he's not challenging himself. Where compared to, I want the one thing I want to talk about We're New Here is that We're New Here I prefer it to In Color because on We're New Here he's challenging himself. Okay, because he's got to take the vocals from Gil Scott-Heron. He's got to figure out, okay, well, how do I turn this into basically a completely different song? He has to challenge himself. On this album, it didn't really seem like he was challenging himself. He just sort of like.
Well, yeah,
seemed
but
like
this
kind
is a
of like,
solo album. It's not a collaboration.
I
or
know,
a
but
remix
that's the
album.
thing. He's not again. And I want to talk about another album that's kind of, I guess, a little similar, or just really another electronic music artist from like England that makes kind of similar music. Subtract. Last year, released an album called Whenever We Land. I love it. I think it's great. It's underrated because critics didn't really like it that much. I don't really understand why. I think it's a great album.
I agree.
But I think the difference between Subtract's album and In Color is that Subtract, he has the perfect amount of features where he has enough features where the album has enough variety, but he has again enough where there's still variety, but still like has enough like solo tracks that are still very interesting, instrumentally. But it keeps me excited.
And
Yes.
Where
Well,
the
wait, I'm actually looking at Wonder Where We Land right now, and the total amount of tracks that don't have a feature on them are 1, 2, 3, 4.
if you're just tuning into the podcast, Nicholas is doing a counting segment.
Four
yes,
out of-
okay.
yeah. 4 out of 15.
And
of
I
tracks
like
don't
that
have-
because
don't
I
have-
prefer features. I think Subtract again. I think his instrumentals are still really interesting, but I think the features really add to the songs and make them more exciting to me. While on In Color, there's not that many features, and the features are really just kind of okay.
I
like,
can only think I only think one of the samples wasn't. I mean, one of the features wasn't
The
good.
one of the
I
features,
thought-
Stranger Room, that's a terrible song. I
it's
hate
not
that
terrible.
song.
It's just kind of. I mean, it's probably the weaker track. One of the weaker tracks.
It is the weakest track on the album. All Sim, I do not like. I do
Stranger
not like.
Room.
Yeah, I do
Strange-
not like. I don't like his voice. His voice is just not good to me. The track was just not interesting. The production wasn't interesting. It just was a boring, moody track that was just like, I don't care.
Okay, well,
What I really hoped
Um,
for with that shit, sorry.
Wait, what are you gonna say, Ali?
So what I really hoped for with that track is if it was like to build and turn into just an absolute banger, that would have been amazing. But I kind of saw it as a if it had been a lead-in, I kind of saw it as a lead-in to Hold Tight, but I would have rather had it as like building into an absolute banger near the end.
That's my problem with the whole album. Actually, is that it never really builds to something bigger. It just never like it. When I listen to like this is definitely dancey electronic music. When I listen to something like this, maybe like Crystal Castles, every beat really hits hard and it builds to something. I just feel like this whole album just kind of stays in this kind of limbo where it doesn't build, and it really bugs me.
It's dancey electronic music for boring college liberals.
well, I mean, also, I think that you guys are saying you listen. I mean, Matty said he listened to like Burial, but I really don't think he did.
I like Burial actually.
Well, I think that Burial.
I
songs,
like Burial. I think again, Untrue is a great album.
Burial songs never go into anything. They're really like constant. You know what I mean?
I feel like what Burial isn't trying to make as dancey music as
Burial isn't moody. Like, he's not super. Yeah. He doesn't make music that's as moody as Jamie X's music. He makes music that's a bit more like, it's still kind of moody, but still like exciting. Where Jamie XX, a lot of these tracks are just kind of like.
I think Burial is some of the moodiest music I've ever heard.
I completely disagree with you, Matty. Actually,
I think it's moody, but okay.
That's the problem I have with Jamie X's album. Actually, is that it doesn't. It's
too understated.
I don't feel. Yeah, it's understated.
One thing about that.
I don't feel any emotion from it.
Exactly. Like, again, the most that this album got on me was, okay, well, first things first, Gosh, that's a banger. That's a great track.
Gosh is a good song.
Is a banger. I wanted more on that album. I didn't get that. I got a lot of moody electronic tracks that I just maybe would tap my foot to. That's about it.
I wouldn't use the word moody. I think that's where we're getting.
Yeah, I think that Jamie XX has a really, like, warm style to me. Like, I think it's really bright, and I think the music really fits well.
That's the most ironic thing on this album. It's called In Color, but I didn't really get that out of this music. It was just kind of like boring and moody to me. But it just like
moody is. I would use. I think
moody would be more describing to like the XX, I would say. But like, just I don't know. I mean, some of the tracks, not all the tracks on here are moody, but like at least like half of them are just sort of like boring and just kind of like, just let me just get through this, I guess. It's just, I just kind of have a hard time. I think I can describe certain things about this album a lot, like, really well, like, why I dislike it. And other parts is just sort of, like, I'm having difficulty. And it's just, I mean, again, there's some great tracks on here. I mean, like, you know, Gosh is great. I think Sleep Sound's pretty decent. I like Girl. Restless Noise is decent. I know there's going to be good times. Besides the Pop Can feature, which had no business being on the album, it ruins the hook. The hook, again, Pop Can... the way his vocals are mixed on the hook are terrible. It shouldn't. Again, it makes no sense why they're on there. It shouldn't have been on. Again, why? Just keep the sample that you had earlier. It sounds great. It's a great hook. And Young Thug is. I mean, I normally don't like Young Thug. I think he's generally painfully mediocre. But I like Young Thug in some. When Young Thug has really great production like this, he does really. You know, he's awesome on it. But you know.
Yeah, I actually preferred the leaked version because it didn't have the Pop Can feature on it.
I didn't listen to the leaked version, so I should.
And also the verses were switched, which I really liked.
Yeah, that means the very first line. Yeah, what was that?
Oh, wow. But, I mean, also Loud Praises by Rami's pretty decent track. I actually prefer the live version they did on, like, a French talk show.
I saw that. I thought it was really good.
That was really awesome.
Yeah.
Apparently he's just doing a DJ setup for, like, his concerts, which is kind of disappointing. It's like...
Yeah, I wish there would be more stuff like that.
I've heard he's really uncomfortable doing like a live performance though, so that's probably why. And he's been a DJ since he was like a kid, so that probably has to do with that.
Yeah, just stick with what's familiar.
Where's the Young Thug? Where's bringing out Young Thug at like Pitchfork Fest, dude? I hope that happens.
Is Young Thug doing Pitchfork?
I don't think so.
If not, I wouldn't be surprised if he brings out Young Thug. I wouldn't be surprised because Pitchfork loves Young Thug. They gave him Best New Music, which he did not deserve.
Arguable.
Which again, okay. But yeah, Ethan. Yeah, you can talk about the album now because I think I've talked about some enough.
Yeah, I just found it to be largely forgettable. Honestly, I'll admit to only listening to it twice, but like, when the only songs I remember are Gosh and Good Times. Just like I can't remember any of the other parts. Honestly, it just kind of seeps into this muddy mush of like it's like a bunch of rainbow. It's like the cover of the album. It just kind of just melted into this kind of brown, and it's not brown. Brown isn't unpleasant to look at. It's just kind of like, oh, there's brown. This is not an unpleasant album. It's not like someone is stabbing my ear and it hurts. It's just like. And
it's pleasant to listen to, yes. But you don't get much out of it.
Yes, exactly. And there's no emotion. That's kind of what frustrates me.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna make my closing statement.
Yeah, go for it.
And that like, Jamie XX on this album is making dance music.
Yeah.
And dance music, like traditionally, I mean, it's arguable. I mean, there's a lot of different types of dance music. Dance music is pretty broad, but dance music doesn't always have like this huge like when you go to a club and you're listening to like dance music, like electronic dance music, are you really like I feel really weird saying this, but do you really like pay a whole lot of attention to the music and where it's going and like what like happens, like
No, because
whether
I don't
or
go
not
to the
it's-
club.
Well, I mean, I assume you did though. It's like a really
I
crowded.
mean, probably, but the thing is, in the context I'm listening to, again, Nick, you're trying to justify, our dislike. It's like, well, if you listen to it in this setting, okay, it shouldn't matter what setting I listen. Again, maybe
Well,
I
no, I mean, it's
enjoyed it
'cause
in a
it's
different
the type of
setting, but
music.
like in the current setting I'm listening to, it should be good across the board.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, I'm talking about like the kind of music it is, though. I mean,
But yeah, I see that. But the thing is, I just prefer my electronic music a lot more like experimental. Like I love Arca, Death Grips, I love the production style. I listed out a couple of like other great. Let me figure because I prefer electronic music that more.
Said,
dude, I love.
Ethan, you shut your fucking mouth right now.
Dead Mouse.
we're all
Hey,
huge.
Dead Mouse
Well,
has some good songs. Will you guys admit this? Like, Dead Mouse has some like
He's not bad.
killer songs. Like, I'm not being completely honest. Like, some songs that I still listen to this day. Like,
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
honestly,
I want to
probably
mention more
like-
electronic artists real quick.
like Strobe. Strobe is the best. Strobe is a classic.
And I don't hate electronic. I mean, like I said, I like electronic music. I think there's some great. I mean, I forgot to mention Flying Lotus, James Blake. Oh, my man crush.
God.
Actually, we didn't let Ali speak about the album. Do you want to talk about the album a little bit, Ali?
Sure. So going back to the whole thing about like the purpose of the album, there's one article about The Verge where I don't know if they're a credible music source, probably not, because they're a tech site. But the title was Jamie XX rebuilds the '90s rave of his dreams on In Color. And I think that's kind of they got the purpose, like they hit the purpose on the head of the album. It was like pretty much that's what he grew up with in terms of music. Was like '90s rave music in Britain, like breakbeat and that kind of stuff. And he tried to like recreate that in his own style on this album. And doing that, he actually succeeded on a lot of tracks. But they're also, I do believe that "Stranger Room" was not a good track. They could have done a lot. He could have done a lot with it, but he just didn't do anything with it.
It's boring. Oliver's a terrible singer. If Jeremiah was here, he would be defending that track like right now.
Because you just like shit on it.
It's terrible. I don't like it.
Like you're like taking it as like a personal attack. You're like, he's a terrible singer. Like it sounds like it's like really personal. Like that you.
Well, the thing is, again, I'm trying to make this interesting. Okay, I'm trying to be interesting when I talk about this. I gotta be. Again, I have to. Again, I have to exaggerate.
You could have just said, "Oh, it's not the best," and then move on. Like you would not.
I have to again. Okay, Nick. Okay, again. This is a music podcast. This is a discussion podcast, but also this is entertainment. So I have to be entertaining, and to be entertaining, I have to exaggerate my opinions a little bit. Because I'm not. I mean, there's some things that I intensely hate, and like I intensely hate, and that exaggeration is not like for like the cameras or for the microphone or for the podcast. It is real. Like my hate for DJ Mustard, that is not exaggerated. I hate that man with a passion. His production styles. Okay, this is for like late night or another podcast. Oh
Yeah,
God,
we should do a late night tonight.
maybe. But yeah, keep going, Alan.
So back to what I was saying about like the setting of like how it being like a '90s rave. Back to was it Nick or Ethan that was talking about how like when you're on a dance podcast? Fuck. Sorry.
What? Oh, the dance.
Dance podcast.
No, I was talking about listening to this album like as if you were at a dance.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I just saw a little podcast thing pop up in like on my computer, and I just read that.
Okay.
So sorry about that. But yeah, you're not on dance floor like I miss my girlfriend. You don't have that.
No,
you don't have the
that's what I
reaction.
do when I listen to Crystal Castles. I'm like fist pumping and I'm crying at the same time. That's what I love about like that's the kind of electronic music I like. That's like kind of super like it can be super dancey, but also it has kind of this like some emotion.
Experimental edge to it.
No, not
Like-
not experimental. It just has an emotion. Like one of my favorite albums from last year was Clark's self-titled.
That is a great album.
Yeah, it's so good. But I think what I liked about it is kind of like, actually Pitchfork went into this pretty well, and I think I kind of envision it because of Pitchfork. That there's kind of feels like there's this epic battle going on because during this album, like these sounds are almost fighting each other for dominance, and I think that's there's this grand feel to this album, and I like that there's some, even when there's no vocals on that album, I think, but yet there's this kind of intense emotional battle going on in this album, and I feel like Jamie XX's album just lacks that intensity, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not for me, really. I need some more to it, I guess.
I understand that. For me, it's one of my favorite albums of the year. probably in my top 3. I really like it. Aside from Stranger in a Room, which actually it does fit, but it's probably my least favorite track on the album. I really love the album. I think The Rest Is Noise and Girl are probably my 2 favorite tracks. Girl is probably one of my favorite electronic tracks in general.
Mm-hmm.
I just love like that snare and then the bass just like going against each other. It sounds so nice.
And to compliment the album a little bit is that the one thing at least that's good about this album is that usually it keeps a consistent tone throughout.
Yes, yes.
It keeps a consistent tone throughout, but all the songs are still kind of like different sounding. But the tone is still sort of very consistent, which I do enjoy, and I think he did a very good job in that.
He has a sound he's established with this album. He can make another album, and you will be able to be like, oh, that's a Jamie XX song, like.
Yeah, I honestly think that his next albums could actually be even better than this one, and eventually he could create like some absolute masterpiece. If he keeps
I'm hoping it does. Hopefully it makes something more interesting. Hopefully he
hope it
goes
has
more
another Young
experimental.
Thug feature.
Again, hopefully it's just a Young Thug collab album.
I feel kind of weird saying like I wouldn't be totally against that.
I mean,
But I feel like Young Thug.
I wouldn't be against it either because Young Thug he works best when he's going over interesting production, because if he's going over generic trap production, I do not care.
Yeah,
but whenever he's going over something like more experimental, like stuff he did on Days Before Rodeo, or on this album, I dig it. I think he works perfect because again,
I think that you would have to like if there was a collaborative album between him, Jamie XX, and Young Thug would have to like massively expand his style, because like. It would get like an album full of songs that are exactly like, I know there's gonna be good times. It would get pretty boring after a while. I'd say, but
I think what I'm mostly frustrated with, not frustrated with, that's the wrong word, but just kind of
disappointed.
No, surprised by. It's just or interested by the amount of praise, like the 9.3 on Pitchfork. I'm like, whoa. This is no one. I don't think anyone really thinks this is a bad album. I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who dislikes this too completely. But like that's pretty insane that it got a 9.3.
Yeah, I think that was a slight overrate. I wouldn't put it over a 9 at all.
Yeah, definitely. Especially to Pimp a Butterfly and this are just on 2 different levels. I mean, I think most people can agree with that.
Oh, they had the same rating, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think
that's crazy.
Can I discuss this real quick? Because I saw on Let's Talk Music, they were discussing this, that like the big kind of like buzz blogs, like the buzz indie blogs, like Pitchfork, Spin, Concerts of Sound, they rated the album really high, but while like more kind of like electronic focused blogs gave this kind of like bad ratings. So it's just kind of seeing that like weird contrast, and also. Let's be honest, there's definitely some politics going on for why Jamie XX got the 9.3, because he's in their festival lineup. It's the same thing happened to Surf.
Yeah.
I like Surf.
There's definitely some politicking going on. I mean, I'm not hating on Surf. I don't think it's a bad album, but it's nothing, again, like In Color, it's nothing to write home about.
Yes.
But it definitely got overrated by Pitchfork, and it's like, okay, this guy is headlining your.
I definitely don't think Surf. Was it an 8.3 that it got? I don't think it deserved that.
It got
I think
like
it was an 8.1.
I got an 8.3 Best New Music.
Yeah, I know. I think it was like a 7, but.
I think probably the main thing. The main thing that like separates like the two like general like the two opinions on In Color is, are you like a casual fan of electronic music, or are you like you really into it and you're really well versed? Like I'm not very well versed, so I really love
same. I'll admit that. I'm definitely not like super into electronic, besides like a few bands. But I think that the good thing about me listening to this album is like I'm decently familiar with most like UK garage stuff. Burial is one of my favorite artists of all time, so I can hold like a little bit of a deeper appreciation for it because I know a lot of that music.
I'm definitely pretty like it's hard to say like am I into electronic music, because I'm not like going to raves every weekend and like in the like scene or whatever, but like I know my shit generally. Like I.
What?
Who the fuck's doing that?
Okay,
can you edit this?
No, but like I know like one of my proudest moments was when I'm like I understand Kraftwerk. There was like this moment where I'm like I get it. So like I feel like I'm pretty well versed in electronic music. I'm going through my electronic playlist right now on Spotify, and I feel like there's a decent amount of variety here, and it's all like like it's you go from Washed Out to Vessel. Like Vessel is like a super experimental, like insane noisy kind of stuff, and then Washed Out is obviously super chill wave. So like I feel like I encompass a lot of like electronic stuff. So I don't know. But I wouldn't say I'm like an electronic guy. So like
I'm not an electronic. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Oh yeah, I should probably keep going, Ethan.
No,
I'm not an electronic.
I'm so
God damn
sorry.
it.
Okay, so let me just finish. One
Yeah,
sentence.
sorry.
Like,
This is my bad.
I think it's just taste. I don't know. I don't feel like it has to do with how in depth of a knowledge you have of genre, because like there are albums that everyone who has much more or like, I'll like. I just feel like I know people with the same in-depth knowledge of a genre and they'll love an album I hate. I just don't think that's a qualifier. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't know.
I don't know.
I was just basing it off like you were talking about the electronic blogs were sitting on it, whereas like normal blogs were talking about it. And also I played it for my parents. Neither of them like electronic music, and they loved it. So that was kind of probably absolute bullshit to base it off of.
I think it's partly because it's accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I guess I should probably give. I do want to give like one more. I guess a final statement on the album. It's okay. It is enjoyable to listen to. It is pleasant. However, as we stated earlier, I don't get much out of it. It's not an album that like I get. It's not very emotional. It just sort of seems like stuff you put on in the background at like a party or something to make you to give you a little bit of like indie cred or something like that. And again, my electronic music taste, I'm not the biggest expert in electronic music, but my taste generally skewed towards more experimental stuff. And this album was not really experimental. The closest we got to an experimental track was the Young Thug track. That's the closest we got. And so this album, it's not particularly interesting, but I still kind of enjoy it. But I don't think I'll go back to it that much this year. It just seems like it's okay. It's decent. It's definitely really, really overrated. 9.3? No. But it just seems like, and I already said earlier, I prefer We're New Here because the problem I have with this album is that it just seems like Jamie XX, he's just kind of like, he's not challenging himself. He's just kind of sticking with his normal sound and not really doing anything new. It's like Jamie XX, this is your debut album. You got to change things up. You got to do something, do something. And he didn't really do anything. He just kind of kept with his normal sound, didn't take any risk or any big risk, which, again, there wasn't really any big risk. It just seems like a very safe album, very safe, somewhat enjoyable album that make it, very critically acclaimed on the blogs that aren't super like into electronic music or like their mainstay isn't electronic music. But yeah, We're New Here.
Can we have a?
We're New Here is a better album.
I just want to have a positive rebuttal as a final statement.
Yeah.
Allie or Nicholas, do you want to do that?
Nick?
I'm a riding that pussy like a stroller.
Okay, that's it. Well.
See you guys.
But no.
So yeah, that was the podcast this week.
Don't we have to do our head-related reviews?
Oh yeah, we have not done those in a long time. Okay, I will go first.
You guys didn't do this?
Wait, what is this?
We haven't done a
Okay,
review
so
in a
Allie,
while. We've done a lot of interviews in a row.
So Allie, this is what. So instead of giving the album like a normal rating, like an 8 out of 10 or like an A-, some of that, we give it a head-related rating, as in the rating has to relate to some sort of head movement or something that has the head. So like maybe like a brain, maybe like eyes, something that's on the head. So I give this album a like kind of like moving my head a little bit, just kind of like with a very very emotionalist face, just kind of like turning my head back and forth, like okay. Yeah.
All right, I give this album when you rest your head down on the cool side of the pillow, because this album's cool.
I'm really tempted to just cut Allie's and I's reviews out and just end there. But
yeah.
No, I'm not going to do that because that would be rude to Allie.
Yeah, you guys do your head-related rating.
We're putting Allie on the spot. He's got to think of one.
Right. So I'm going to say probably just like a nice bob, just like jam it to the music. Like on some songs like Girl, I'm just like absolutely jammed to that. I love that song. So we go with that.
Okay.
Slight Bob.
This is-
Ethan.
My review is a little bit dirty, but I'm gonna go for it anyway. So it's like a girl is giving head, and I said, and it just
Shut up!
it
I
just
want to
like-
hear this.
it just-
I hope you guys enjoyed the R.
No, let me finish.
this week.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
That's what she said.
No, but actually,
No, it's not.
The review I was gonna give, it's that there is no finish. It just keeps going. It's just like, okay.
It's like a blowjob that lasts forever.
It's just like the middle. It's just like the middle. It's just like the point where it's just like, okay,
And
this
Butsy's
is
still talking.
pleasant, but nothing. It's not really hitting a climax here.
So you give it it's like the middle of head but like forever.
Yes. For 41 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, well I hope you guys enjoyed the R.
I'm gonna cut that. I'll cut that out.
No, don't cut that out. Do not cut
that out.
that.
That was
Don't cut
gold.
that.